For Ferrari, they know Project 678 is of vital importance for 2026 and beyond. And with that in mind, they have a foolproof plan in place and in motion from which how they look to introduce the SF26 at the initial pre-season tests, the first race, and beyond into Barcelona. And there are various specifications of Ferrari cars which we will see. In this video, we're going to be breaking down every individual spec of Ferrari car which we will see at the beginning of the season, starting from pre-season, the first race in Australia, and this newly re-announced B spec that they've already got in the pipeline. And also everything which will be changing with that B spec, which is quite a substantial change. So without further ado, let's go right in and go over all of the iterations of Project 678 which will be being brought to the race tracks. And let's start off with the launch specification, the one which they will be using behind closed doors at the private Barcelona test. This is very much in line with all of the teams at that event. It will be a very simplistic base car with nothing in terms of a defined aerodynamic platform from front wings to rear wings. It will be a very basic iteration, and essentially it is all purely about the engine performance and making sure they have reliability. So Ferrari have a very basic, simple pieces of bodywork to put on the chassis, and there is of no importance in terms of getting any data regarding that. That first test in Barcelona, held behind closed doors, is purely about performance, getting as much mileage out of the new engines, finding gremlins, finding issues, and coming up with solutions and fixes in between that first private test and then the Bahrain tests. Speaking of Bahrain, let's now turn our attention and focus to that, as that will be the first iteration from Ferrari which will have a basic aerodynamic concept for them to do tests in. Now, of course, once they've ironed out all of the issues surrounding the engine and have come up with solutions and implemented them hopefully for themselves in time for these tests in February in Bahrain, it is more about churning out not only mileage out of the engines, but performance, understanding the baseline of their new Challenger for 2026, all of the aerodynamic figures, all of the numbers from the wind tunnels, seeing if it correlates to what they have produced out on track. And that will be the first, in a sense, litmus test of what they have been able to produce, design over the winter period. From there, a further iteration, a further upgrade will make its way to Australia, the first round of the 2026 Formula One season and this new era in Formula One. And this is the first time that a more refined, a more, if you want to say, extreme level of attention to detail will have been revealed and placed on the SF26. This will be the first proper iteration of the aerodynamic choices that they've made, the pathway through which they've just chosen to go down for 2026, and that will be the first test of the actual true Challenger that they will have for 2026. Of course, there are going to be numerous changes with this B spec, which we'll begin to talk about very shortly, but essentially the B spec is still going to be in this chosen path that they've taken. And let's break down what some of these pathways could be and explain what happens in pre-season testing. So essentially, teams would have trialed out numerous front wing designs before choosing and finalizing on that one specific one which will work in harmony with all of the other bodywork and the decisions they've made overall. From there, it is about further optimization. The further into the season we get, new pathways will be learned, new opportunities will be gained. They may even see a particular approach another team has made which they see is of benefit to theirs, and that is when this B spec comes into play. But already we know there are major changes which will be happening with this B spec, and let's go over those right now. Ferrari have been known to place a lot of importance and emphasis on the front end of their 26 Challenger. This includes, of course, the hugely important front ring because of both of the modes it's going to be used in and the influence that has on airflow all the way to the back of the car. But of course that also includes front suspension designs, whether they go pull rod, push rod. All of these choices we already know they've chosen to go down. But what we can say about this B-Spec car is this. They're going to be making suspension changes. As we know, they're returning to pull rod layouts at both the front and rear of the car. And they will be making substantial changes in and around this region for this B-Spec car. And that is where a lot of the focus is going to be placed. And with that all being said, of course, this means there's a lot of pressure placed on that B-Spec car that they have produced or are in the process of producing right now. If that doesn't form a basis of a competitive Ferrari 26 car, there are going to be heads spun in the team, major driver changes potentially on both sides of the garage, with both leaving or one retiring, one leaving. But of course, on the opposite hand of things, if this goes correctly and they have a fantastic B-Spec car and they've understood and taken all of the learnings from the initial launch phase, which is the one in the private test, into Bahrain, with the basic version, then a further refined version in the second test, and then of course everything from Australia onwards. And they have a competitive machinery in line with, of course, their engine, and they're in a title challenge. Things can change drastically in a Formula One season. Perceptions from the outside, the harmony within the team, everyone being happy and all pointing towards one direction, and two happy drivers with a car which is doing everything they want out of it, giving them the opportunities to fight for podiums, pole positions, race victories, championships, both constructors and drivers wise. That would be the most positive outcome Ferrari could expect from this B-Spec car, and then things could go swimmingly well for them, smooth sailing. But of course, only time, as it always inevitably is. It's a case of time, wait and see. And if it is good for them or whether it is bad, only time will tell. Right guys, thanks for watching. Enjoy your New Year's Eve if you're out and about and celebrating. And I will see you all in 2026. See you shortly.